Kathy.
Pam. This is going to be a good meeting.
Oh, we'll hope.
Well, with you in charge, I have full faith.
You know, Pam, I do have to tell you, I have gotten compliments from people on how you run these meetings.
Oh, isn't that nice?
And I have been meaning to tell you that before now.
Oh, that's very nice.
That's
People
why
are
I
very
was,
generous.
that's why I was quick to nominate her. As soon as
I do-
Harry said I need a nomination for, she barely got the words out of her mouth and I quit and jumped on it. I had it all planned.
I do like to move them along.
You are so good at it. All right, what am I looking for?
What time is it here? Oh, I need my,
It's 5:26 according to my
Okay.
computer.
oh, good. Oh, I've got my phone. Yay.
Should be the same as the phone. Let's see, is it my phone?
Yeah, it
Yep.
is.
Same thing. My little laptop says the same thing too.
You do what I do, run around and check all of
Yeah, I do.
them.
At my age, I need all the help I can get.
Okay. Finally. I don't know what I do with the paper shuffle. I have now lost the agenda, which was, oh, here it is, which was right in front of my face.
Well, I lost the whole thing that I had all set up for this too. I looked everywhere. I remember copying them, stapling them together. So I had to do it all over again.
That's all right. We'll get through it. We get 2 selectmen and a town manager. So we need 3 more selectmen and an attorney.
Yeah,
And Bruce is here in the office with me.
Oh, good. Good. Yeah, I kind of assumed he was in there with you. I shouldn't have, but
Now, they don't, not all the office computers have cameras and microphones and speakers and all that good stuff. And here comes Zach, so that's the attorney.
Yep.
Hey, Zach,
Hey Dennis, how you doing?
very well, thank you.
okay. Got a couple of minutes and we're waiting for 3 more select board members. And we will begin. Somebody should bring a book full of jokes so we could use it while we're waiting.
Mr. Slack's on his way.
Hey, Jeff.
I can hear him, but I don't see him.
Yeah,
It's far away. It's far away.
we're looking at his ceiling again. Lovely ceiling, Jeff.
Oh, sorry, cheapest. I can't. You'll be done with me in like 4 weeks. So
I think you're an automatic pilot for the ceiling.
there you go. I hate Zoom.
I do too.
When I'm at my desk at the office, it's fine because I've got all my stuff there. But being at home, it's just weird.
Hmm.
Oh, there's Sarah. Hi, Sarah.
Sorry, I'm eating. I haven't had a chance since breakfast. So.
Doesn't bother me any.
You eat away, Sarah.
Get dinner while you can. So we just need Kim.
Is Dennis on?
Yes, he is.
Is he? I was just gonna tell him that I've harassed he and Kathy because I couldn't get the meetings to go to my home email address. It was going to my spam folder. So then I just happened to peek at it today and that's where it was.
Wow.
Yeah.
You sent email to yourself that went to spam, so you're not talking to you?
Isn't that bizarre? Because when I first was
It's a
doing
little
it,
odd.
Very
when-
bizarre.
when I first was doing it, everything went fine. Do you know what I mean? But about a month ago, it's like it didn't go and it went to the spam folder. I don't know. I have no idea why, but that's where it went.
Here comes Kim.
Okay.
I talked to a buddy of yours today, Jeff.
Oh, Billy Post,
That's right.
he's getting done.
He's coming this way.
I know he is in Saginaw.
Yes, I'm excited.
Me too. I'm happy for him. He's anyways, I'm sure he's told you secrets that you don't need to tell me, but it's hard being a town manager.
Well, it's he's going to be closer for me to pester now. So
Oh, good. He's such a great resource.
he
He's awesome.
absolutely is. Yep. He
Yep.
absolutely is.
Okay, so we're all present and it's after 5:30. So I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to call the meeting to order at 5:32. So our first order of business this evening is going to be a public hearing. And this public hearing is on a possible dangerous building, excuse me. So the purpose of this meeting is for us to take in some evidence from the code enforcement officer who's done an inspection on the property and has some photographs to share with us and some explanations on what you might see if you were there. The ultimate issue on a dangerous building is whether the structure is structurally unsafe, things for us to keep in mind, whether it is structurally unsafe, unstable, or unsanitary, constitutes a fire hazard, is unsuitable or improper for the use of occupancy, obsolescence, or abandonment, or is otherwise dangerous to life or property. So that's what the board needs to keep these issues in mind as we listen to our code enforcement officer. So we also have on with us tonight Zach Brandwine from Bernstein Shore. He's an attorney and he's going to help us stay on the straight path if we go astray from procedures. And he's also going to fill in the findings and order document for us as the meeting proceeds so that we know it's done correctly and completely. And thank you very much for that, Zach.
Happy to help.
Great. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do now is we are going to hear from our code enforcement officer, Bruce Mullins, and Bruce is going to explain to us what he has seen on the property.
Where do you want me to start? Beginning. It's going on for a while.
Yes, so if you would tell us when you started looking at this property, so we know the beginning time period, and then we just know it's up to date, and then tell us what you have seen and any contact you've had with any owners, and share please any pictures that you might have.
I've got lots of pictures. This started in December of 2019. The oldest boy of Aaron Williams was at the high school and he appeared to have carbon monoxide poisoning and rat bites. So the fire department went to the house and checked it. What happened was the furnace wasn't working, so they were heating the house with a propane heater. Mr. Cassette came into the office and told me, he said, if you don't condemn that house, I will. So I made arrangements with Miss Williams to go check on the house and take the police chief and one of his officers with me. The house is a mess. They didn't have any heat. There was one spot in the wall in the bedroom where the rats had chewed wire and set the place on fire. They didn't have heat because the rats chewed wires on the furnace. Mr. Cassette took a bunch of pictures. I have pictures that he took. So ever since then, we've been dancing around trying to get the house either safe and sanitary. That picture,
Hold on.
oh, Dennis has got some pictures that he can share of the inside of the house at that point in time. At that point in time, DHHS removed the children from the home. That's the kitchen. That is the front yard. So Bath Savings is the lender on the property.
That looked like the bathroom, maybe?
No, that was the kitchen. There is the hallway going in through the back door. Right above that bucket is a hole in the roof. You see the electric panel on the left.
Mm-hmm, yep.
The back door right at the moment is laying on the ground. That's the stuff they threw out the back door. I tried to work with them. They wanted to put a camper on the property this summer. The DHHS removed the kids back in January or December, January. And they came back this summer with the intention of staying in a camper and fixing the property. Well, these are current pictures that show that they didn't do much of anything to get this property up into shape. They had to go through and change the whole, check all the wiring. The inside of the house is such a mess that I don't know why the rats would even be there. When we first went there, we opened a closet door right inside the front door that was full of garbage, and half a dozen rats went scurrying. So
Okay. Okay, so I think that pretty much covers the unsanitary, unstable and unsanitary conditions. So could you speak to, did you see anything that makes the property, the building, sorry, I keep saying property, I mean building. Did you see anything that evidenced the structure as being unsound?
there was some flooring that was taken out. The hole in the roof in the laundry room. The building itself probably could be saved, but all the walls would have to be opened up to check all the electrical. The flooring, they're so matted full of dirt and grime that I'm not sure what kind of condition the particle board is underneath the flooring. I did ask before I told them they couldn't leave or couldn't stay the winter in the camper. I asked if I could go in and see what improvements they had made to the property. And they wouldn't let, they wouldn't let me in the house. So I
Okay.
don't know if they made any. I don't know for sure if they even cleaned the inside, but there are couches and stuff that were in the house or out in the backyard at the moment.
Okay. Let me see. So that's structurally. I think the fire hazard because of the torn wiring is is self-evident.
There is a picture, one picture that Mr. Set took of the bedroom that had a big burn mark in it.
Let's see if I can find it.
Okay.
Had a what in it?
That's the bathroom.
A burn mark in it.
Well,
The rats had cut in, had chewed into the wiring and set it on fire.
Yep,
Can I ask a question, Pam?
Yes, go ahead, Kim.
Bruce, when you said they came back this past summer to stay in a camper and fix it up, did they get their children back at that time?
they, their children were moved to, I think, her mother's house.
Okay,
They went to school over in Damascata during this last winter. I believe that's where they went.
all right, thank you.
Hey, Pam, could I ask a question?
Yes, go ahead, Jeff.
Is there anybody living there now?
Not that I'm aware of. What I
don't have
heard,
it.
Hmm?
I don't have it.
okay, I can dig one up for you.
Go ahead.
What I heard today was they came back yesterday and today for whatever reason. That's from the people that were working on the property, I think, cleaning it up. So,
Dennis, are the taxes paid?
That's a good question. I believe they are.
Yeah, Bass Savings is, Bass Savings also paid for the pest control people to come in and do a yearly pest or rat removal thing. And at first they wouldn't let them in. Obviously they did. Here they have been. able-
Frozen up. Oh, there it is. I froze up.
The last few times that the pest control people came by, they couldn't get in the house. They weren't there, so. I'm not sure what's going on with the rats in the house now, but the rats
So-
have spread through the neighborhood.
So Bruce, have the property owners responded to you in any of these letters that you've sent to them?
They haven't responded since September. Which I've sent them several letters and they haven't responded. The last one I sent, they didn't respond at all. Both letters came back. I'm not sure. We had the sheriff's department try to locate them to see what they were gonna do with the property, but they were unable to locate them, from what I understand.
And this is Zach Bramwell. I just jump in here and this is not testimony, this isn't evidence, but just for the record, it's part of the record, but just to inform the select board that the town attempted to serve the Williamses via sheriff, as we're required to do in advance of one of these hearings. We were not able to, the sheriff wasn't able to locate them and serve them. And so we used a backup procedure that's provided for in statute by Maine law, which allows us to post notice of this hearing in the newspaper for 3 consecutive weeks, which we've done. And we've also served notice of the hearing on Bath Savings. So we followed the proper notice procedures. And that's just, I just wanted to include that in the record just for the sake of the board.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that.
Pam, I've got one more
Yes,
question.
Jeff.
Has Bath Savings responded to the town or to us? What?
Bath contacted us on Thursday and just asked for the information that we had and asked for information on this meeting. So I'm not sure if there's somebody from the bag here tonight or not. And I sent you 2 pictures to each of your email showing you the burn marks on the wall as well as the bathroom.
Okay.
I just want to mention, this is Anthony Jameson. I'm here representing Bath Savings, just here to monitor and see how the hearing goes.
Well, I'm glad you attended, Anthony. We appreciate you taking the time to come in and listen in on this. Okay, so Bruce, is there anything else that you could share with us about this property that you think we need to know?
Well, other than I have tried repeatedly to get the Williams to, at one point in time, the yard had some trucks in it full of garbage. They did clean that up, like that was back in May or June last year. When they wanted to put a camper there, and I told them they couldn't until they got the garbage out of there, so they did clean it up. And when they left this year, I asked them what the pile of particle board was that was out in front. They said it came out of the son's bedroom floor, and I went, huh? I don't know what was going on with his bedroom floor, and I still don't. And I asked them if they were going to remove it and to remove the garbage that they left behind. We said, no, not putting that in my SUV. So
Okay,
the yard is a mess. The house, I suspect, is a total wreck inside because they didn't clean it before. Why would they clean it now? And
Okay.
one of the back doors by the laundry room is laying on the ground. And one of the windows in the front is broken. I think one of the panes in the patio door is broken. But as far as the interior, I have not been able to go in and find exactly.
okay, so you're saying that the weather so you're saying that over the winter, the rain and snow have been blowing into the building
That's it.
through the door and the missing door and window?
Yeah, the missing door, and then of course the hole in the roof still hasn't been repaired, so.
Okay,
Pam, I don't know if I'm allowed to do this, but to the Bath Savings representative, have they been getting mortgage payments?
I'm going to be asking the Bath savings representative to talk in just a minute.
Perfect.
Okay, it's on that little mini agenda for this public hearing that I sent to you.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. Okay, so I will move on to that next. I think we've heard, all right, so we've heard pretty well from the code enforcement officer. So the next part of the process is to ask anyone present who has an invested interest in the property if they have anything to add to anything that has been said already, and allow them to speak in opposition if they feel the need to. So that would be, Anthony, is there anything that you have to say from Bath Savings standpoint that you'd like to share with us, or do you have any opposition to this proceeding?
No, we just respectfully just sit here. We don't have anything to add. I think it's all right there. So we're just here to just observe and act accordingly on whatever the select board decides.
Okay. Excuse me. So are there any other questions or comments from the Board of Trustees, the town manager? Anyone else have anything they want to hear about this property? Okay, and I'm gonna just check in with Zach. Is there any of the steps that I've missed?
No, that's pretty good for a first time in a while.
Okay, so let's see, the next thing I need is I am open for a motion to close the public hearing.
So
I
moved.
Second,
It was Jeff and who?
Kathy.
And 5:49 PM. So all in favor asking Kim,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
and Pam votes yes. Motion carries 5-0. Public hearing has ended. So, no, just a minute. I'm thinking point of order. You know, we spoke about going into the public hearing at 5:32, but I don't think we moved and seconded.
So we can just amend somehow.
Yep. So hang on just a minute. I'm gonna have you. Let me see, proper procedure. I would like to have a motion to go into public hearing. That's all
moved.
right.
I move that we go into public hearing.
Jeff
Second.
already moved, so I'm gonna take you, Kathy, as a second.
Okay, second.
Okay, all in favor, Kim,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes,
Sarah,
Yes.
Pam votes yes, that's 5-0. Hang on just a minute. Just when I thought I was doing so well, that's at 5:51. But I want to make sure this is completely legal and that we've done it exactly correct. So I would like a motion from someone on the board to accept the prior 20 minutes of discussion as the testimony for our public hearing.
so moved.
Second.
Okay. Jeff and Kathy move prior 20 minutes as testimony of the public hearing. Calling for a vote from Kim,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes,
Sarah,
Yes.
and Pam votes yes. That is 5-0. Motion carries. And now I'll take one more motion to come out of public hearing.
I move that we come out of public hearing.
Second.
Okay. And Kathy and Jeff have moved and seconded. Calling for a vote from Kim,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Jeff,
yes,
Sarah,
Yes.
and Pam votes yes. That's 5-0 at 5:52. That should cover the bases. Thank you very much, and I apologize for my error. See, you patted me on the back too soon.
We didn't.
Okay, we are now out of public hearing, and I am open for a motion on a designation for dangerous buildings. Would like to make the motion. It's under number 1 pursuant to 17 NRSA subsection 2851-2859.
so moved.
And
Second.
Okay, that's Jeff and Kathy.
Yeah.
Have moved that pursuant to 17 MRSA subsection 2851-2859, designation of dangerous buildings for map R02, lot 017A, located at 467 Lowell Town Road. Moved and seconded by Jeff and Kathy. Calling for a vote from Kim,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes,
Sarah,
Yes.
and Pam votes yes. Motion carries 5-0. The property is so designated as a dangerous building. Okay, the next order on this is the board now needs to deliberate on what you are going to have listed. We're going to have listed on our, on our findings and orders. And I think that mostly what have you got that, Zach?
I do, and I'll chime in here with just a little bit of legal advice, which
Okay.
is the dangerous building law gives the town, now that you've found the building to be dangerous, gives the town the authority to order essentially anything done to the building to rehabilitate it, up to and including demolishing it, which is obviously not a rehabilitation, but normally what we advise is that the order provide that the property owner has 30 days to bring the building into compliance to the code enforcement officer's satisfaction. The reason for that 30 days is, first of all, it's a good faith opportunity for the property owner to bring the building into compliance. And it's also the time period in which an appeal can be taken to Superior Court from your order here tonight. So we would not ever advise the town to do anything until the appeal period had expired. That's 30 days. It overlaps with this opportunity for the property owner to bring the building back up to code. I will say that if the property owner begins to make a good faith effort to bring the building into compliance, and we're at day 30 and there's still a long way to go, Dennis in his capacity as town manager and Bruce in his capacity as code enforcement officer can exercise their discretion to allow the property owner to sort of continue to work on this. It doesn't do anything, that sort of leeway does not do anything to affect the validity or enforceability of the order. So, you can sort of let that process play out. If indeed the property owner is trying to bring the building back up to code, it's up to you how long you want to let that process play out. Obviously a lot depends on the sort of dynamics and the facts on the ground. With a building in this condition, we'd also advise that the order instruct that the building remain unoccupied until it's rehabilitated. If it is rehabilitated, you found that it's unsafe, it's dangerous. That's, I think, just a prudent course of action. It just provides an extra layer of protection for anybody who would otherwise live there. They're not allowed to live there. And then finally, what we always include, just as a matter of course in these orders as a backstop, is if the property owner doesn't bring the building into compliance, the town has the authority. The order would say that the town has the authority to demolish the building. And the process for that is that the town would hire a contractor. The contractor would go onto the property and ultimately remove the building.
Mhm.
So those are the sort of tiers or the layers in which we structure this order. It's in a sort of a series of escalating options for the town. And you have discretion to exercise those options at sort of each level.
Okay, and my understanding is that any expense for any work that the town does on this property would be assessed against the property as a tax.
That's correct, including the cost of legal fees and the notice requirements that were posted in the Bangor Daily News. All of that is recoverable against the property as part of your annual tax assessment.
Okay. And then from that point, the town's next steps would just watch to be sure that the taxes were paid, and if not paid, after 18 months of arrears taxes, to go into the foreclosure process. Is
That's
that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, Jeff.
If the town takes this over, do we then pay Bath Savings the mortgage payment?
No. So the order doesn't give the town any property rights to the property. It only authorizes the town to ultimately go onto the property and demolish the building. But there's no the town doesn't assume any sort of property rights just by virtue of this order. Obviously, if you went through the automatic tax foreclosure, that's a different story, but not through this order.
Perfect.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Okay.
I think Bruce had a question, Pam.
Yes, Bruce.
I would ask Zach, do I post any notices on the building?
Yeah, this is also just a little bit of a wrinkle in the order that we always include. It's some boilerplate, but the order would also give you, Bruce, in your capacity as code enforcement officer, the authorization to immediately secure the building. Secure is a very vague word in this law, but essentially what we always advise is you'd post the signed, finalized order at the building. You can also, if you're concerned about folks getting into the building and it being unsafe, you can padlock any doors that remain. You can tape off the building. Anything sort of within reason to ensure that no one is entering an unsafe structure or environment.
Okay, so the back door that's off, needs to be put back on and post a do not enter sign?
Yeah, I mean, the town could certainly take that on itself, and put a piece of plywood over the door and post the notice there. That's always an option.
Okay.
Okay. I think we have a full understanding then. So, let me see that the rest of that information you just gave us is included in the findings and order form that you're filling out for us?
It is. It is always sort of part of the boilerplate. If you're sort of comfortable with the options as I outlined them, I can make sure that that's included in the order in writing. The point of discussion I sometimes see when the property owner is present at a hearing and asks for a little time is how much time, whether it be 30 days or 60 days or 90 days to bring the property into compliance. Where the property owner is not here to make that request, it's entirely within your discretion. You don't have to allow any time, but I think as a matter of course, we always just say 30 days.
Okay. So, I will just share with the board that in my opinion, the property owners, since this has been going on since 2019, have had plenty of advance notice that this issue is ongoing and needs to be addressed. I would suggest myself the 30 days. I would like to have a consensus on if we're happy with 30 days or if the board thinks 60 is more reasonable. And then I'd like to have someone vote to agree to the, what do we want to call them? To agree to the template for the order that Zach has outlined for us. And then we can vote on that and he can pass that as voted. So does anyone on the board think 30 days is not enough time?
That's more than enough.
Yep, agreed.
Okay. All right. So I'd like to would someone like to make a motion that the town authorize Zach Brandwin to fill out our findings and order form as he has described to us. I'd like to have just a vote from the board as a whole that this is what we're moving forward with before he fills it out, because we're going to be going in and signing this document when he's done with it.
Pam, can I just ask Zach one more question?
Sure.
Zach, have you ever had an institution, a bank of some sort come back onto a town and to bring some sort of legal and win as far as the town taking over the property?
So that's a great question. I rarely see lenders or mortgage holders actually show up at these meetings. I think it's a great thing that a representative from Bath Savings is here to observe and monitor. That in itself is unusual. I actually I can't say that it's never happened, but I have never been the town attorney for a proceeding where a mortgage or lien holder filed an appeal of the order. So that's the legal recourse in this situation, is either the property owner or a mortgage holder or a lien holder, someone with an interest in the property, would appeal the town's dangerous buildings findings and order. They'd appeal that to Superior Court. I don't want to say the only basis, but the only sort of likely actionable basis for an appeal in from these types of orders is not about the condition of the building, but rather whether proper procedure was followed. And that usually is just about whether the parties were properly noticed. Here, obviously, there's somebody from Bath Savings, so they had notice. Anyone can appeal the order on the basis that there's not sufficient evidence in the order, but my legal advice out in the open for the board is that I think that it would be extremely unlikely for a challenge on that basis to be successful. So your question was, Have I ever seen a lender file an appeal and win? I've never seen a lender file an appeal. Doesn't mean it can't happen. Doesn't mean they can't be successful. I just think it's unusual.
Yeah, nope, Zach, this is Wiscasset, so that's why, that's why I asked. I've seen in my 8 years, a lot of crazy things, and I just want to protect the town because I've been in the, anyways, thank you very much.
Yeah, of course.
I have a
Okay, so I'd like to have someone move to authorize Zach to complete our finding in orders as outlined and discussed.
Can I
So
ask one more
moved.
question, Pam?
Okay. Kim? Go
Yeah,
ahead.
so what if it turns out that, and there's probably a high likelihood that this could be possible, that these Williamses have, are in the system and have case management through DHHS that would have been triggered when the kids were removed from the home. Is there a chance that that could be, and should we have contacted DHHS to make sure?
No, so the narrow legal question is, was the town obligated to contact or to attempt to ascertain whether DHHS is working with these folks? The answer to that question is no. The dangerous buildings process requires us to serve the property owners in the same way that civil process is served in court cases in Maine. We attempted that, and the sheriff was unable to locate them for service. And when that happens, the dangerous buildings process provides this backup option, which is to post notice in a newspaper for 3 weeks consecutively prior to the hearing. So we did that. I think I have advised any number of other municipalities that have had to use that sort of backup process. I've never seen that be an issue. And again, the sort of your narrow legal question was the town obligated to sort of go that extra step? The answer to that is no.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, in case these people are incapacitated in some way, will they, I'm not sure what would happen, but.
And again, from a sort of just fairness and equitable standpoint, if these folks come forward, before the town takes any action, whether it's in 30 days or even after that, if the town has not taken action yet, and they request some time to clean up the property or do something else with the property, it is perfectly permissible for the town to allow them some extra time or some leeway. It does nothing, allowing that extra time or leeway does nothing to change the ultimate enforceability of the order. So even if you do that, they don't comply, you haven't prejudiced yourself from enforcing the order in the future.
Okay. Okay, so ready for the motion? Jeff was ready to move.
Yes, I am.
Do we have a
So-
second?
I'll second it.
Okay, I got Jeff and Kim have moved to authorize Zach to complete the finding in order form as outlined and discussed. Calling for a vote from Kim,
Yes,
Kathy,
Yes,
Jeff,
Yes,
Sarah,
Yes.
and Pam votes yes. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, everyone. That's very good work. I appreciate it. And thank you, Zach, for helping us get through this process.
You've done an excellent job managing the process and procedure. I will complete this findings in order for your review. If Pam tells me it looks good, it'll be available for all of you to sign, after which the town clerk will record it in the registry of deeds, and we will serve it on Bath Savings and attempt to serve it on the Williamses, although again, that may be difficult, but we will do our best.
Thank you.
thank you, Zach.
We
Thank you all very
appreciate it.
much. Good luck with the rest of your meeting.
Thanks. Have a good night.
Good night.
Thank you, Anthony. Appreciate you coming.
yes.
We're going to move on to item 2, the approval of the treasurer's warrants. And before us, we have the payroll warrants of April 23 and April 30. We are open for a motion.
I move that we accept the payroll warrants of April 23rd, 2021 and April 30th, 2021.
Second,
It's been moved and seconded to approve by Kathy and Jeff. Any comments from the board? Seeing none, calling for a vote from Kim,
yes,
Kathy,
Yes,
Jeff,
yes,
Sarah,
Yes.
and Pam votes yes. Motion carries 5-0. We have before us the account payable warrants of April 27 and May 4th. We are open for a motion.
I move that we accept the accounts payable warrants of April 27, 2021 and May 4, 2021.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded by Kathy and Kim to approve the accounts payable warrants. Are there any questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, calling for a vote from Kim,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes,
Jeff,
Yes,
Sarah,
Yes.
and Pam votes yes. Motion carries 5-0. Approval of minutes for April 2021 and April 28, 2021. Are there any errors, omissions, or corrections? I didn't see any myself, but I'm not always that great at editing.
I would just like to comment that I found it humorous that my joke about reading 1984 was included in other board business. The minutes actually read well, so thank you. Jackie.
I noticed that too. That was good. Okay, seeing no errors or omissions, calling for a vote from Kim,
Yes.
Kathy,
yes.
Jeff.
yes.
Oh, wait a minute. Do we actually get, who actually made the motion? Sorry about
I don't
that.
think anybody did.
Yeah,
Nobody made the motion, so I need a motion first.
I move that we approve the minutes of April 20 and April 28,
I'm a little
2021.
off tonight.
Second,
Okay, it's Kathy and Jeff. I'll call that vote again. My goodness. I am a little off tonight. Kim,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes,
Jeff,
yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
and Pam votes yes. Motion carries 5-0. I'll try not to make us vote everything twice. It would make it a long
good
meeting.
practice. It's good
It's
practice.
good
It's
practice.
okay.
So there are no special presentations or awards, but we do have before us tonight on item 5, some committee appointments. We have Zachary Dalton for the Shellfish Conservation Committee, Elizabeth Kyle for the Appearance of the Town Committee, Becky Applin for Cemetery Committee, which will take us to an odd number on Cemetery Committee, I believe, so that would be good.
Okay, Pam, could I make a motion to take all three at once?
You can. You can, and I'm assuming that was you doing it. So, and who's the
We'll
second?
second it.
So it was seconded by Kathy, moved by Jeff, seconded by Kathy. Any comments or questions? Okay, seeing none, calling for a vote from Kim,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes,
Jeff,
Yes,
Sarah,
Yes.
and Pam votes yes. Motion carries 5-0.
and
So
thank
you're
you
up to-
all of them.
Yes, and
Volunteering.
thank you to those people for coming, stepping in and agreeing to work for the benefit of the town. We're up to item 6 for public comment, in which any person can speak for up to 5 minutes on anything that is not on the agenda and anything we have not heard about over and over again. Yes, Ed.
Your last comment makes me question whether my comments here are appropriate or not.
Okay,
Some of the comments I made, I did make to the planning board, but I don't believe that I've made to the select board, so I'm not sure. And so let me just do this, and if you find this unacceptable, just shut me off.
Okay.
So let me just begin. One of the reasons, I believe that one of the reasons industry is reluctant to come to Maine is the high cost of energy. Per the Department of Energy's National Renewable Energy Laboratory, the levelized cost of electricity for solar generated electricity is greater than that for conventional fuels. There is a valuable lesson that we have learned from our experience with the Blaine House, the governor's mansion. The state paid $63,000 to install a solar system to generate electric energy for the mansion. The company that installed the system was paid, made their profits, and walked away. The energy generated reduces the monthly electric bill, no argument. The amount of savings compensate for the cost of the installation. These savings have been projected to recover the cost of installation in 42 years. However, the panels will only last about 25. This was not a good financial decision. Now, that being said, I need to thank this town manager for having sent me a copy of the main DOE documents relating to the Wiscasset Airport Solar Project. I'd like to think the select board has also seen and read these documents as well. These documents do answer a number of environmental questions. Some of the things contained in the document, for example, are there is forest that will be cleared. The specific amount wasn't mentioned. Timber will be harvested, and there will be some demolition debris that will go to the Wiscasset transfer station. There was a minimum of 160 tons of debris. And at one portion in the document, there was a number on the order of 2,500 tons where it wasn't quite clear where that all went. There are three issues that I think the select board must resolve. First, how will the project be financed? From the main DOE documents, it was not specific, but you could estimate that the cost of this project was going to be approximately $10 million. The details of financial capacity for these companies was not included. Most likely, the project will be financed with debt. And the select board, I believe, must assure themselves that there is adequate financing to cover this project. We don't want a project halfway done. The second item, this project results in a number of financial obligations that would include paying back the debt, paying property taxes, and paying the lease. The question is, will operations provide adequate funds to meet these financial obligations? The select board must assure themselves that there's adequate income from this project to meet the financial obligations. And finally, the third thing I want to mention is Wiscasset will be negotiating and contracting with a company called MSD Wiscasset LLC. I stress LLC, a limited liability company. This is a company that is a separate legal entity from Synergy. And the select board must assure themselves that should that company fail to perform, obligations to Wiscasset, the lease, and the property taxes can be recovered. Our previous experience with Point East trying to recover some of those costs is not favorable. So there's the sum of my concerns. I hope I stayed within your 5 minutes, Pam, and I hope I didn't repeat too much.
You did stay within. Thank you, Ed.
I'll send you a copy.
Yes, please do. Send us, yeah, please always, anytime you do that, Ed, if you would please send us all the copy of your comments so that we can read them.
And I got to thank Dennis again. Dennis, those documents are great. I hope everybody's read them. They really did answer a lot of questions.
Great, thank you, Ed. We're moving on to, let's see, department head or chair report, and there's none this time. Number 8, new business, James Weldon Johnson Memorial.
So before Lucia starts, and she called me today to discuss this, and I just didn't get a chance to get back to her. I'd like just to remind everybody as to where this came from. Because to be right up front, I have had some calls today in opposition to this. So, and there seems to be a misconception that this is something that originated within Wiscasset. It did not. The request for this memorial did not start anywhere in town. I was visited last August by a gentleman by the name of Tony Hill. Tony Hill is a field congressional aide for Congressman Al Lawson, who represents the 5th District in Florida, which happens to include Jacksonville. Jacksonville is the birthplace of James Weldon Johnson, and Jacksonville is building a several $million monument and park in the memory of James Weldon Johnson down there. Tony's purpose for coming up here was, one, he has a real interest in this gentleman and his background. Two, to see where he actually died, and we all know he died at a train wreck here in town. And three, to see if the town had some interest in doing some sort of a memorial to James Weldon Johnson here in town. Nothing along the lines of what they're doing in Jacksonville. I mean, the thing in Jacksonville, as I said, is going to be, the last I knew was well over $2 million. I met with the gentleman. I didn't really have a whole lot of time to spend on this, to be perfectly honest. And I've been honest with Tony about this too. It just wasn't on my priority list at the time, but they were pretty persistent in moving this forward. And this is how Lucia kind of got involved in this. I had a couple of conversations with some of the other members of the Friends of the Downtown to see if they had any interest in kind of taking this project on and seeing if there was something that we could do with it. And so this is how Lucia got involved in this. And she spent a considerable amount of time on this. As I said, I've had some phone calls today and a visit today of people who are opposed to this, not because of who this gentleman was, but only because they feel that if we're going to be memorializing people in town, it should be people who are from town, not people who are from out of town. So having said that, if Lucia wants to pick up from here, I'm sorry, Lucia, I didn't get a chance to hit you with this beforehand, but sometimes things happen quickly.
And I apologize if I could just interrupt. This was brought to the select board 2 or 3 years ago. I was sitting on the board and we received a correspondence from a group in Jacksonville. And that's the first that I had heard of this civil rights activist and how he tragically died in our town. But this isn't a new idea. This is definitely a couple of years old and did come before the select board. And we were interested in learning more at that time. Not this board, the prior board.
I do believe, Pam, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they came to the library at one point, maybe back as early as 2013.
Yes, they've approached the library a couple of times for information, which I gave what little bit we had out of our archives. But I mean, this has been an idea that's been talked about from these folks down south for about 10 years now. So as you said, Dennis, the hitch in everyone's giddy up is if you're going to memorialize every famous person who came through town and passes away, are we going to put, Tom Cruise, he was at Red's Eats, we should put a plaque there. If, Martha Stewart went into the antique shops, when she dies, we should put some plaques in the antique shop. So,
She died.
I mean, that's, it's, so that's the kind of talk that went on when this was first looked at many, many years ago. So, I mean, it's, and the other thing is if it's not someone who's from Wiscasset and never spent any real time in Wiscasset, should we be spending town funds on this? So that's the other piece of the conversations, but I'm going to let Lucia, can I just add, how do you pronounce your first name?
Lucia.
Lucia. Lucia?
Lucia, you're muted.
You're muted. There you are.
There I am. Yeah, so Lucia, unless you're Italian, then you can say
Lucia.
Lucia. Yes,
Okay. Thank you.
sure.
So if you wanna give your, I mean, I don't want to rain on your parade, but if you want to
Well,
give people a share, go
I'm
ahead.
so pumped to have it wouldn't happen. Yeah, so I do want to clarify, in 2013, there was some communication with the town manager at the time by some, I think mostly clergy, who were interested in doing a fundraiser to support the idea of a memorial for James Weldon Johnson. He really is bigger than Tom Cruise and he's bigger than Martha Stewart, and he was killed tragically here. And he's certainly a person of note, and Wiscasset is part of his life story. So it's an odd occurrence, but we are in fact part of his life story. And there's a lot of interest, certainly beyond Wiscasset, in acknowledging the place of his death. I gave you a bunch of highlights from his life, and I don't really need to go over them again. Although one of my favorites that doesn't come up a lot is that he was a founding member of ASCAP and was considered a musical giant of the day, along with Irving Berlin and John Philip Sousa. I thought that was pretty cool. He was, he was doing his work during the Jim Crow era, and this was a time when it was very dangerous to be a person of color, particularly a Black man. And he devoted his life to serving his arts, but also to struggling for racial justice. And we are in a moment that values that effort. Let's see. Oh, I think that there's been a resurgence in interest in him, particularly because he was the author of Lift Every Voice. So if you remember last summer, there was an article about him in the Portland Press Herald, in the Wiscasset newspaper, and in Lincoln County News. And I think that gave a lot of new attention to the fact of his having spent time in Maine, and also his death here in Wiscasset. We received contact, for instance, from a woman in Damariscotta, whose name I can't remember, who's the director of the Francis Perkins Center, reminding us of what a significant person James Weldon Johnson was, and lending her support to doing some sort of a memorial. Legislator Hepler, who I don't really know, recently wrote a letter of support. She's the legislator for Woolwich and surrounding areas. Also stating, I think I gave that to you in the list of support pieces, stating how significant James Weldon Johnson was to furthering the ideals of our society, and how she was prepared to lend her support in any way to memorialize him. So it is an interesting phenomenon. He isn't a native son of Wiscasset, and the accident probably could have been in other places, but it wasn't, it was here. And he has such value and such stature that to not honor that aspect of his life really feels like a missing piece. So, oh yeah.
Yeah, Lucia, what are you asking the board to do?
Oh, well, to approve a proposal for a memorial.
And the funding would, is it something that you want to fundraise for, or what?
So,
what's?
Yeah, so if you may not have seen the material, the proposal that was sent to all the board members, the select board members, and I can get right to that.
Please.
Mm-hmm. So Dennis and I feel, did due diligence. We looked at, we considered several different ways that he could be memorialized here in town, and we opted to present the simplest way of doing that, which is a memorial plaque commemorating him and locating it in the village. I'm estimating the size of the plaque would be about 19 inches by 21 inches. The material would be cast aluminum or cast bronze. The location would be attached to the iron railing on the south side of Main Street. in front of 64 Main Street, therefore keeping it away from traffic, keeping it off the sidewalk. So it would have a very limited visual impact. The estimated cost, depending on materials, would be between $3,000 and $5,000 plus minimal installation. The time frame, we would hope to have it completed by late spring of 2022, which is the estimated time that Jacksonville would do the ribbon cutting for the Memorial Park at his birthplace, for which they've already fundraised $3.2 million. And the funding for the memorial plaque would be a combination of town and private funds. So that would be part A of the proposed memorial. Part B would be a dedication service organized by the community that would also probably be around spring 2022. We would invite local community visitors, historians, clergy, Jacksonville, Florida representatives, Maine legislators, Maxman, Hanley, Talbot Ross, and Hepler. Talbot Ross has recently submitted a bill to have an annual observance of James Weldon Johnson, basically a day of observance in June on his birthday. And legislators Maxman, Hanley, and Hepler have all been sponsors of that bill. And that funding would be private. So if one of the questions is, what sort of funds would we be seeking from the town? My response to you would be, why don't you, assuming you approve the idea of the memorial plaque, if you would indicate to me what you think it would be possible for the town to provide, then we'll do private fundraising to complete the rest.
I think that it's too late for it to get on to the town warrant. So we would probably have to hold a special town meeting, for the people of Wiscasset to vote on it. So that's something to think about as well.
So when the museum and the streets were going up, was that also town ballot?
No, that was private donations, I think.
Mm-hmm.
That was private.
Yeah, I remember donating it. Yeah, it was all private.
Mm-hmm.
So,
It just-
any other questions from anybody else on the board? Sarah?
I'm just wondering how it's that expensive. I don't know anything about brass
Mm-hmm.
plaques, but that seems
An aluminum.
huge.
Mm-hmm.
It is.
I think because if
Right.
it were, I wanted to include the possibility that it would have a figure. So it could just be writing. It could be writing and a figure. And it's also for a slightly larger sized plaque. If you think about the railing, it has the small uprights, and then it has the larger posts. So the 19 by 21 has it attached to the smaller posts, but the estimated cost actually takes it to the larger. So I use that cost basically to cover all possibilities.
Because I'm just thinking there's a plaque just as you're going into the community center. People know what I'm talking about. It's on the left side. It was put there when the community center opened it. It has all of the people who supported it, that kind of thing. And that's actually huge.
That's huge, yeah.
Bigger than what you're talking
Yeah.
about. And I realize it would be a bit different, but I cannot imagine then that was anywhere near $3,000. Like, so I guess no matter who it is, to some extent, I'm a little hesitant based on the price tag, seeing that for the first time, getting ready for this meeting.
Yeah.
Kim, you had a question too?
Yeah, I wanted to thank Lucia for the proposal and all of the details that you included in our package. It was very complete. I would say that I'm in support of this idea, and let's figure out the money later. but yeah, I think it's definitely a good idea and I would support it.
So do I. I just want it to be, because of the dollar amount, Kim, I'd like it to be
Yeah.
presented to the town.
Well, maybe we could
So-
find something more economical, but Dennis, do we have any special town meetings that we're thinking we're gonna need to have? I felt like we did for something.
Yeah,
or other.
yeah, we will have to have something sometime. I'm figuring July, early August.
We could include this request at that time without
I
doing
think it-
something special.
I totally agree. Lucia, this is
So-
absolutely.
So other board members have things to say too. So Kathy, you had something?
Yes, I think I read everything that Lucia sent the board members, and Mr. Johnson was a very interesting fellow, very well educated and just obviously and involved in all kinds of things. However, I don't think that the fact that the unfortunate fact that he died here in Wiscasset requires that it be a plaque or whatever the people end up trying to place in town. He wasn't from here. He just had the unfortunate accident. And I just, I just don't see it. I could think of all kinds of, there are probably hundreds of people that would be worthy of a similar memorial plaque, who may be Wiscasset native born way back in the day. That's all I got to say.
Well, in fact, we've honored them with Museum in the Streets, I think, to a large extent. That's the point of Museum in the Streets.
Yeah.
Is to honor the social heritage and the history of the community. And there are 31 plaques honoring the history of Wiscasset and the people who made Wiscasset.
Yes, I was involved with that whole process. Yeah.
So may I ask you a clarifying question? Does your approval of this proposal become easier if we don't ask the town for funds?
Absolutely.
I don't know. Sarah had a question or a statement.
Both, actually. Dennis or anyone else, do we have anything written anywhere in terms of who we honor with what? I'm guessing we don't, but I mean,
There's nothing that I am aware of. That doesn't mean there might not be something that exists that I haven't researched and found yet.
okay. And then I guess my comment is just, well, first, Lucia, thank you for doing all this. I don't want you to think all these questions are just like tearing it down after you've done all this work. But I guess I would be hesitant to encourage it to be funded outside of the town if we were to do it, only because I don't want to set some sort of precedent that something in a memorial in a town is not going to is just privately funded. I just don't want, I don't know, I don't want a snowball issue where people want to honor certain people, and if they don't get town funding for it, they just buy it on their own. Like, that sounds
Right.
bad, but I'm not saying it very eloquently, but
But I think that's exactly you're giving me the example of Museum in the Streets, and that's exactly what happened. So Museum in the Streets is completely privately funded, and yet I'm sure the town has given approval. And you're always going to do case by case. So somebody is not going to put up a significant plaque on public land without seeking opinion. One of the models I gave to you is the very large plaque in front of a private home on Hodge Street. And that actually that's aluminum. And that cost, it was his best recollection, probably close to $7,000. So that's on private land and it was privately funded, but Museum in the Streets is privately funded on public land.
Right. So I have a problem with just going forward and approving anything to do with this unless the town has some kind of just a minute, and until the town has some time to decide if they're going to allow these types of plaques and what sizes they would allow, because to go from, maybe it's 8 by 10 and maybe it's 19 by 20, maybe they raise enough money that it now becomes 40 inches wide. I think there has to be some kind of a policy to go by before we start passing. That's my opinion. I have to agree with Kathy that the man his wife was driving him through town on his way to where his destination was. And I know he visited in Maine, I understand, almost annually, but Wiscasset was never his destination. It was a drive-through. And I'd have a problem spending town funds, as Sarah stated, but I don't really see a strong connection to him here. He didn't spend time here. He had no interest in being here. But my biggest objection is we have no policy, and I don't want to vote for anything like this until we do have a policy. So Kim, you have a comment?
I just want to clarify.
And then Sarah, and I'm not taking comments from the public until the board have finished talking. So I have a couple of people just keep waving at me and I see you, but it's a board discussion. So Kim.
Okay, so I think another way to look at this is honoring the request of another, an organization in another city. I think that makes us good national neighbors. And also, we're not talking about just any person or a celebrity. This is a champion of the civil rights movement. And I think that is important. And as part of the memorial for his life that is really located in Jacksonville, this is something that they've requested that would be a small plaque in the place where he died. I think it's significant for that reason. This isn't just a guy who was passing through town or a celebrity. It's important. It's a civil rights champion. And this is a request from an organization that is memorializing his life. And I feel like we should honor that.
And Sarah.
I just want to clarify that I didn't say I was opposed to using town funds. I said I was not in favor of having it all privately funded. You said, I don't know if by mistake or not, but you said I was.
Oh, okay. What I understood you saying is you thought it should be privately funded.
No.
Oh, okay. You're
No,
saying the
if we
opposite.
decide to do this, I think it should be funded by the town or mostly by the town.
Okay. Anybody else on the board have a comment? No. Okay. Public? Judy. Time is it? You're muted. You are muted. We can't hear anything you're saying. Click, there you are.
All right. I did wait a few times because sometimes some boards have allowed anytime and others haven't, and I hadn't been for a while. But anyway, what I want to, couple of points I want to make is I'm going to admit my ignorance in that I was not aware of this gentleman and his life and his story. Neither was I, and I think part of, I'm not alone in this, didn't know about the Green Book, and I didn't know about Frances Perkins and what she was until I was an adult. Now, my point is, this is an educational issue. That's the way I look at this. This is a wonderful educational issue for our community, for our state, and for our youth. And I think it would be a wonderful thing to do and bring attention to that. I also have a question. museum in the street, is it not possible to have this recognition done through the museum in the streets? And maybe Lucia can answer that.
So, so they've talked about this and thought about it, and it just isn't, it's just not, if you think about the other plaques really do commemorate the deeper history of the community. And it just doesn't feel like it's in the same vein. And so I agreed with them that, and I think Dennis did as well, that it really needed to be something different.
Okay.
Yep, we did talk about that fairly early on, and
Yeah.
we just didn't feel like it fit with
Right.
what the purpose of the Museum of the Streets really was.
Mhm.
But this is part of history, not just our history. This man's history and where he's from and the whole, but okay, I hear it. But I
Thank
do
you.
hope the board will support this.
Okay, any other questions or comments?
I'm sorry to go back to the price, but have you actually gotten like estimates for it?
Oh, I called, so I called the company that's not local that did the large plaque on Hodge Street. And because it was apparently a very good experience, and they do good work in aluminum, which is a much lower cost. And after 150 years, they just went out of business last year. So they're off the table. So then I called a place in South Portland that doesn't work with aluminum. So this price is bronze. So I wanted to work with a Maine company, but it's not definite. You know, I'm doing this as a volunteer, and at some point I had to put a limit, and I can move forward into even more detail, but I want to do that for purpose. I can tell you that I spoke specifically with Pete Brown about the installation, and you probably know him. He's done a lot of work in the village. He's an iron guy. He did the beautiful iron railing behind in the Clover. He also did some of the historic looking railings for some of the individual shops, and he did the arches. He customized the arches for me in my garden. And he actually walked me through a likely installation because I had been visualizing something much more complex. And it can actually be a very simple installation with a plaque and a hole in each corner that gets basically screwed into the uprights. And that's why the size of this sounds awkward, is because we measured it to the inside of the railing. And the neat thing is that it's very low impact. And once, if for any reason, either the railing or the plaque needed to be cleaned or whatever, the plaque can be unscrewed, the railing can be patched and painted with almost nothing visible left. So it's a very low impact way of adding something pretty discreet to the village. Dennis and I walked through the village. It's really it's very dense. And the obvious place might appear to be even closer to the railroad track, but it's very dense there, and we thought it was very hazardous. This site is discreet. It's near the benches. It has a view of the accident site. It's within the village. So it seemed like the best of all possibilities. I think I presented you with a dilemma. There are points of view spanning the gamut here.
Mhm. An interesting conversation.
Yeah.
Kim and then Linda. Oh, sorry, Kim and then Jeff and then Linda.
Well, I was going to say that I would be in favor of having this go in front of the voters at a special town meeting that we're already having in July-ish anyway. And I don't know what would be appropriate for the board to do. Would we make a vote tonight to ask Lucia to come, I don't know, to provide a figure that we could present to the town at this special meeting in July? Or so that she feels like she's working with a purpose and can go on, but we can also have the taxpayers have the opportunity, or I'm sorry, the voters have the opportunity to weigh in.
May I respond?
Well, Jeff was next, sorry.
Lucia, I was going to support Kim right to the T. Yeah, I have an article kind of like drafted that we can present to the town.
And Cynthia had a question or a comment. And you're muted, Cynthia.
Yeah, thank you. No, I just, I've talked to a number of people about this today, and I just don't see why somebody who was killed in an automobile accident while vacationing in Maine would have a plaque put in town for them. I mean, there's lots of people who do lots of, good things, and I just am not sure why this person's being singled out to have a plaque put there. And it's not like he was a civil rights hero in town here.
Well, he was a very strong civil rights activist. So, and he was important to that movement in the country. Certainly. It's just, I also don't understand why memorializing his death on our fence post would be a good idea, but I mean, everyone has different opinions on how,
Of course,
on how to do these things. So, yeah, I don't know either. So, where are we with the discussion? So we have, at this point,
I think
we've come
Linda
to-
had
Linda.
something to say.
Yeah, Linda had a question, I think.
Oh, Linda, go ahead. You had something, and you're muted, so we can't hear you. And anybody else who's unmuted, please mute yourselves again.
Listening to the discussion, I am somewhat relieved that this is going to be brought before the town. I wasn't sure how that was going to be handled, because if we don't have a policy, I think it's something that should be considered, because there have been other things in the past where there were no policies. And I think it's important to create policies before we just go ahead, or the select board goes ahead and approve something. I want to reiterate the fact that I never heard of this man until sometime last summer. I read with great interest in the paper about his history. And I've done some research on him today after I saw the article in the paper. And like some others here, I just don't feel that because he was traveling through our town and was hit with a train, however that happened, it's tragic. But I just don't feel, when I know they're only living in Wiscasset for 8 years, I know there were, great ship captains and all kinds of other things that, yes, have been memorialized on the museum and the streets, but there are a lot of people in present day who do so much for this town, and a lot of people who have lived here a lot longer than I have. But I just feel that the principle of the thing is he never was a summer resident or anything. So if that was the case, it might be a little bit different, but he was just passing through. So that's my 2 cents.
Okay, thank you, Linda. So I just wonder, the other thing I wonder about is, I know when these individuals from down south came up and were first talking about this, it was my impression that they were asking to be able to put up a memorial of some sort and that they would be funding it. Not that the town of Wiscasset would be funding it. So I wonder what happened to that through the discussions. Lucia.
So I actually have never heard that before, and I think that might be, I'm wondering if you're combining the offer to raise funds from the clergy in Maine, and that goes back to 2013.
No, I've never heard from them.
Oh, well, you were CC'd on the letter that they sent. but I don't know where they sent your letter to. However, that's one reason I'm so optimistic about finding private funds is because I think that we'll get support beyond Wiscasset. And I think that people in DC and Portland and Jacksonville who hope that we will memorialize the end of James Weldon Johnson's life, I think that they will help support whatever the memorial is.
Okay, Ed, you had something to say?
Yeah, just very briefly, from listening to all the comments, it seems pretty obvious that this is going to be a divisive issue in town. And I think the one appropriate thing that was said was what you suggested, Pam, is that we establish a policy because we can see all kinds of things happening as a consequences of this. That's all I get to say.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. I think that that's probably, in my opinion, the first thing that has to happen is the town needs to develop a policy on this type of issue so that we have some kind of paperwork, some kind of process to follow. And I think if it is going to be this divisive, maybe it should go to a vote of the people. Kim?
Yeah, I would say that just because there's a couple of people here who don't like the idea, that doesn't mean that the majority of the town don't like the idea. That's not usually how these things work out. And that's not usually who shows up at these types of meetings. But I think I'm prepared to make a motion.
And if you, is there any other discussion? Hang on, let me. Hey.
Pam, is this
What?
something that perhaps you might want to just put on the agenda for the workshop on the 13th for further discussion, or?
I don't know if she's,
I don't know that there's a whole lot more to be said than what's been said, so.
No, but Kim's ready to make a motion. She's gonna move to pass this, so we'll just, you don't think so?
Yeah, that's not what I said I was
No,
gonna,
Go-
that's
go-
not what I
go-
said I was gonna do. Maybe
Okay.
if you
Make
wait
a
a moment,
motion.
I'll do it. Do you want to hear?
Go through the process.
I don't know. Let's go. Yeah, I mean, we've been discussing this for quite an extended period. So if she's ready to make a motion on something, and I'm just asking, is there any other discussion from the board? Any other questions, comments? Okay, I'm seeing nothing. We're open for a motion.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we instruct Lucia to pull together a figure that can be placed on a special town meeting that is already going to occur in July.
Okay, instruct Lucia to, hang on.
The date is
Instruct
not
Lucia
set. so-
Date is not set.
I didn't get all the, you instruct, we would instruct Lucia to what?
Prepare a figure to bring
Prepare a-
before the voters at the special town meeting, which may occur in July. The date has not yet been set.
Yeah, in other words, she'd bring it to us and then we would have to vote to put it on the warrant.
Correct.
Right,
This gives her purpose to move forward.
okay,
and
for us to,
Town to an opportunity to say yay or nay.
so Jackie, did you get that whole motion? You didn't, okay. All right. So that was a motion by Kim.
I'll second it.
Okay, Kim and Jeff. It's been moved and seconded by Kim and Jeff, and I'm gonna paraphrase because I didn't get this verbatim. Moved and seconded by Kim and Jeff to instruct Lucia to prepare a figure to bring before the board for us to consider for the July,
Just say special town meeting.
the special town, all right, for us to consider for the special town meeting, town date not yet set. Date to be determined.
Sounds good.
Okay, so that sums it up. Any other questions, comments, concerns? No, public comments closed. We've made the motion, sorry. Okay, calling for a vote from Kim,
Yes.
Kathy,
No,
Jeff,
Yes,
Sarah,
Yes.
Pam says no. Vote carries vote carries 3-2. Motion passes. And I will say I vote no because I want a policy in place before we do this type of work. So
That's why I voted no.
I want a policy. Okay, so we'll move on to item 8. Oh, and sorry, Lucia, thank you very much for all the work you did. I appreciate it.
Yep, it was an interesting discussion.
Thank you.
It's, well, they're important discussions to have.
Yep. Mhm.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Item 8B, the airport coronavirus response grant.
This is just more funding for the airport from the federal government. It's a small
Yeah.
grant, $13,000.
Thank you, Dennis.
Small grant with
Great.
a lot of paperwork.
A lot.
It's a
All
lot.
these FAA, you should see the one for the airport runway if you want to talk about paperwork.
Good grief.
Okay. Okay,
Question,
yes, Ed.
what was this grant specifically authorized the airport to do?
It's for operations and cleaning and whatever else we need it for. It's not really restricted all that much.
Thank you.
Yeah, I saw it included personnel as well, so that was nice
Yes.
and unusual.
Yeah. Okay, we're open for a motion.
I move that we instruct, delegate, and authorize the town manager to enter into a grant agreement on behalf of the town of Wiscasset with the Federal Aviation Administration, identified as grant number 3-23 0049-025-2021.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded by Kathy and Jeff to approve. Any further questions, comments, concerns? Seeing nothing, calling for a vote from Kim,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
and Pam votes yes. Motion carries 5-0. Item 8C, the request for an impact fee refund for Chandler Snowden. Do we have any information on this?
So she is asking for a refund of her impact fee because of the issue with the building downtown because they've been actually forced out of business. I'm going to recommend that you deny this. An impact fee is not intended to be a deposit that somebody gets back later. And this is something she needs to take up with her insurance company or Ralph Deering's insurance company or Ralph Deering or somebody other than the town. The town's not responsible for what happened here. So that's just my recommendation.
Okay. So she was, so her business is shut down because of the damage to the Walnut building?
That is correct.
Okay, yeah, that is an insurance issue. Any comments, any questions from the Board of Selectmen?
Want a motion?
Well, if you want to give her if you think that you're gonna refund the impact fee, then we would need a motion, or if you, I don't think you need to vote if you're not
I
going to
would,
refund it.
if you're going to refund it, I'd make a motion to deny.
That's what I was gonna-
Oh, okay. You'd make a motion either way. All right.
I move
We are open for a motion.
I move that the board denies the request for an impact fee refund for Chandler Snowden.
Do we have a second?
That's an insurance company problem.
We don't have a second.
Can I ask a question of Dennis?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't have the paperwork right in front of me unless I toggle away from this meeting, and I don't want to do that. So can you tell me when did she pay? Did I read that she paid this impact fee in November 2020?
2021.
No.
Wait,
Can't be.
no,
That's-
we haven't had that.
2021.
Sorry, right, yes, 2020.
Okay, so she paid the impact fee in November 2020. And again, just correct me if I'm wrong, my understanding is that an impact fee is a new fee that we've developed since I've been on the board, that we charge certain businesses because they're going to be using more water, and this tends to be restaurants and
Correct.
okay. And is that something that we charge on an annual basis?
It's a one-time fee.
One time forever? I'd like to make a motion that we approve the request for,
Wait a minute. We've got a
Yeah.
motion open first, so.
oh, I thought it didn't count if no one seconded it.
No,
Well,
she's
yeah, well,
still
I
have to wait.
haven't declared it yet. I was waiting to see if anyone was going to second.
Right.
That's it. That's all right. That's all right. So Kathy moved to deny the impact fee refund, sorry. Yes, Kathy.
Want to say why I think we ought to deny it, exactly what Dennis said. This was a business expense, and her claim should be between her insurance company and Mr. Deering's insurance company. It's just like any damage you might have because of whatever, a tree falls on your house. You don't call the town or say, I need someone out here to cut it up. I think she needs to contact her insurance company, which I'm surprised she hasn't. And it's between them. This one-time fee is not, you know, refundable type of
In a
thing.
second, hey Pam, I'll second Catherine.
Okay. Okay, so
Dennis, what were you gonna say?
I just, if you do this, you're gonna set a precedent for every business that opens up in town and doesn't make it and say, I want my money back. Again, this is not intended to be a deposit that somebody gets back when they go out of business.
You're right.
Yeah,
I just
Kathy.
feel like since this, you're right. You're absolutely right. I'm just thinking about this actual person in that actual business where, you know, she opened in the pandemic and the street was under construction, and then this was supposed to be the year to make it, and the roof literally fell down. And we never used to have an impact fee. We just created that a year ago. So she's probably one of the first 5 to 10 businesses that ever even paid it. So just like another stroke of bad luck. And so I don't want to set a precedent. I'm curious, do you know if she filed this as an insurance claim? And if not, could we maybe ask her to try that first?
I don't know the answer to that. I know she does have insurance.
Yeah, I just,
Whether this is covered or not, I
you
don't.
know, it's been like one lose after another for that particular person in that particular location. So that's all.
Okay, so I had a motion from Kathy. I had a second from Jeff. Do you both stand by your motion and second?
Yes.
Yes, I do.
Okay, and Kathy, you had something to say?
I just have a suggestion, and I don't know whether Dennis could say it would work. But in that form that everybody, the business people fill out and that deals with the impact fee, perhaps on the form it can say non-refundable. And
Thank you. I'll
then,
make a notation of that.
I don't know, would that help?
Yes.
I would think.
Okay, so it's been moved by Kathy and Jeff to deny the impact fee refund. Any further comments or questions? Okay, I'm going to, oh, I thought I saw a hand. Okay, I'm going to call for a vote from Kim,
No,
Kathy,
Yes,
Jeff,
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes, with regret.
Yeah, and Pam votes yes. Also, I'm sorry, the vote carries 4-1, but I do believe that's an insurance issue. Item 8D, a truck vendor request. And am I correct in understanding that this, oh, I lost the page. This individual wants to park their vending truck in one of our parking spaces?
That is what they have suggested.
That is right
Okay.
behind Reds, right?
They either want to go over by the Creamery Pier or on Railroad Avenue. And I have, well, for one thing, most of the parking spaces are 2 hours. So there's your first problem.
Right.
The second problem, we don't have a whole lot of parking down there in the summer anyways. And to allow vendors to come in and start taking up our parking spaces is not going to help our situation any.
Right.
The waterfront committee has suggested that perhaps they could go down to the end of Railroad Avenue or over by the recreation pier on the north end of the parking lot where it's grassy. They could go in there. I'm not sure they'd want to do either one of those. I haven't talked to them about it, but I do have a problem with them taking up parking spaces. Because again, we don't have a policy for this. So where does it stop?
Yeah, that's another policy that needs to be written. Lucky you.
And how many parking spaces do we, and where are we going to put them? I mean, if they go into a parking space, even if they go on Railroad Avenue on a parking space, they would have to park so that people who are on the sidewalk and not in the street transacting their business, which is a problem on any of our streets because they're not that wide, or they have to have their people on the sidewalk, which then become an obstruction to people trying to get from point A to point B. So I think this is another one of those things that, we need to develop a policy. I'm not saying we need to deny them their business license, but I think they have to understand that they just can't take up parking spaces. That's my opinion.
Right. Is there any other open spots on the Creamery Pier that they could rent a spot on the pier?
We don't allow vehicles on the pier, so that would be one issue.
Yeah.
Because we don't want people driving on and off the pier every day because it just
No, I know.
it damages the pier.
Yeah, and they don't have any way to set up a temporary building where they could work from that, probably. Okay. Any questions from the board?
Just a couple of comments. I would agree with Dennis in general. I do like the idea of these types of vendors trucks and that sort of thing. I think they can be very helpful to draw people in. And Jackie, let's put it on our ORC agenda for policy, I guess. Because I'm thinking maybe in the future there's a possibility for this to be, on Wednesdays in a certain area, or what, if we had more of these requests. And I would echo the parking issue. As you know, I'm on Water Street frequently, and it's already really bad with people waiting for their Reds orders, blocking non-parking spaces and triggering the lights. So that's only going to get worse if we take another space out.
Right. Okay. Any other questions or comments?
No, I would just say though that I think it's a fun idea, Sarah, for you guys to work on a plan to maybe have a special like food truck, vendor truck thing.
Yeah.
Someday in the future.
Yeah.
We are getting more requests for these type of things. I've had calls about food trucks, but most of the food trucks seem to be like, we've had a request for one to go out to the new tasting center that's going to be on Bath Road.
Yep.
Well, that's on private property, so that's a fine place to put it. But clogging up the downtown parking area is, I think we need a policy. And again, I'm not saying to deny the license, but they have to understand that they're not going to be able to park in those parking spaces.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think that's the way it works in cities as well, in terms of there will be certain days where food trucks can take up certain pieces. So.
Or they have designated areas where they can set up on a regular basis.
Yeah, like maybe we could clean up the unofficial dog run over by White's Island.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably far enough out of town that no one would find them.
It's a neat place, you know what I mean? If that was cleaned up and there were food trucks and vendors, that would be a really cool spot.
It could be, yeah, it really could be. So Dennis, so what do we have before us? Is this 2 questions actually? Is it she's asking for an approval of a temporary business license and she's asking for permission to use a parking spot, or I mean, those are two separate questions.
They're like two separate issues. I mean, I could go ahead and approve the business license for her. But as I said, our own parking ordinance is already limited to 2 hours anyways. So, I mean, we can.
Yeah, she can't do it. Yeah, okay. So you would suggest to approve her temporary business license, but then where would she park?
Well, and again, that would be her problem to figure out, and Bruce and I could figure that out.
Okay, so you would work with her on that?
Yeah.
To find an area that might work?
Yep.
So, and if she can't find an area that doesn't work, she doesn't have to use her local license and then here.
There's no cost to it, so.
Right, okay. So she's not out at a loss for this. All right, so everyone's clear on that. We can approve the license and she would have to find somewhere else to park her vehicle. She would work with Dennis and code enforcement if we did that.
So moved.
Okay. All right, so that's how the discussion was. We are open for a motion. We are looking to approve the temporary business license of Catherine Flynn truck vendor business.
Seabags LLC.
Okay, it's not, I don't see it on the form here. Seabags LLC.
Yeah.
So do we have a motion?
I move that we approve a temporary truck vendor request license from Catherine Flynn, Seabags LLC, with the understanding that she will be, the town manager will tell her what the parking situation is, and she's gonna basically be on her own, I guess.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
I heard Kim first, I'm gonna say. Very slightly, you're both very quick. Okay, it's been moved and seconded by Kathy and Kim to approve the temporary business license. Any other questions or comments? Calling for a vote from Kim,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
and Pam votes yes, motion carries 5-0. Town manager's report. Was there anything in there, Dennis, that you'd like to specifically bring to our attention?
Nope, it was short and sweet.
Awesome. Yay. Was that it?
That was it.
Excellent.
No, I think you all understand the Route 1 construction, correct? There's no questions on that.
Right.
I'll be
And
glad when they're done.
I don't know if they're ever going to be done.
Job
It's a
security.
permanent season in Maine.
I think it is.
We either have winter or construction. There's just those two seasons.
Nope, I kept it sweet because I figured we were going to have a long meeting tonight, so
Okay. It hasn't been too awfully bad.
it hasn't been too bad. I wasn't quite sure how it would go.
And I want to say again, I very much appreciate having people on the board that you can have a discussion with and we can disagree and have the discussion and everyone's fine with it. I love being able to do that. I think it's so important.
Will you help make it work that way? And I think, I
Absolutely.
agree with you. I think the entire board does very well on that.
Yeah, very good job. So we are on item number 10, other business.
I have one
Does
thing,
anyone have any?
a short
Kim?
thing. Yeah,
Sure.
I would just, very short. I just want to congratulate our fellow board member, Dr. Whitfield, for
Yes.
successfully defending her dissertation. Congratulations, Sarah.
Yes, congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Dr. Sarah.
Great
Bravo.
great job. So proud.
It
So
goes off to
proud.
print tomorrow.
Yay.
Wonderful.
Congratulations, Sarah.
Thank you.
And we are on item 11, adjournment, open for a motion.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
Kathy and Jeff have moved to adjourn. So calling for a vote from Kim,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
and Pam votes yes. Motion carries at 7:19. We are adjourned. Thank you very much, everyone. A very good meeting.
Thanks, Pam.
Appreciate it.
Pam, thank you, everybody. Thank you,
Thanks,
Dennis.
everybody.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
See you later.
Later is next Wednesday?
Thursday. The 13th,
That's when we're doing the board special workshop,
at the workshop, at the airport at 5:30.
5:30.
No, special town meeting, school budget cost centers, May 12th.
That's on the 12th. Yep,
And then we're doing our thing on our workshop.
on the 13th.
Okay.
Okay,
Yep.
okay. Oh, I see. Okay.
Yep.
Yay.